Hey guys, Miss Toledo here. Today we're going to take a look at adding and subtracting signed fractions, so positive and negative fractions. The first example that we're going to look at is negative 6 and 2/3 plus negative 4 and 4/9. The first question that I want to ask myself is, are the signs the same or are they different? And in this case, I see that both of my fractions are in fact negative, so my signs are the same. Since the signs are the same, we are going to find the sum, which means we're going to add these two fractions together. When we add, it doesn't necessarily matter which number comes first. I am going to stack these fractions vertically so that I can add them together. So 6 and 2/3 plus 4 and 4/9. And you'll notice that I did ignore those negative signs for right now just to make it a little less confusing. So, before we add or subtract our fractions, we do need to make sure that we have a common denominator. When I think about a common denominator, I first start by thinking about, can I multiply this smaller denominator by something to equal this larger denominator? In this case, yes, I can. I can multiply 3 by 3 and 2 by 3, because whatever we do to the denominator, we must also do to the numerator. So this becomes 6 and 6/9, and I'm going to add that to 4 and 4/9. Now that I have a common denominator, I can go ahead and I can add my fractions. Now we want to start as we would normally with adding or subtracting any other types of numbers. We're going to start all the way to the right and work our way towards the left. When we add those fractions, we do know that that denominator is not going to change. And when we add 6 plus 4, when we add those numerators, we're left with 10. And 6 plus 4, again, is 10. We do need to make sure that we simplify our answers. So we are going to take a look. We have an improper fraction here that we will need to change. So I'm going to think about how many groups of 9 can I make with 10? And I know I can make another whole group. That's going to change my whole number to 11. And I have 1 left over. So this is going to become 11 and 1/9. Once you have finished actually doing the math, we have to go back and make sure we have the correct sign with our answer. In this case, since the signs were the same and they were both negative, we know we're going to keep the sign in our answer the same. So my answer should be negative 11 and 1/9. The next example that we're going to look at is going to be negative 3 and 5/9 plus 7 and 4/9. So again, the first question that I want to ask myself here is, are the signs the same or are they different? And in this case, I know that I have negative 3 and 5/9, so I have a negative rational number, and positive 7 and 4/9, so I have a positive number. So my signs here are different. Because the signs are different, we are going to find the difference, which means subtract. When we subtract, we do need to make sure that we stack the number with the largest absolute value on top, and in this case, that's going to be 7 and 4/9. And we're going to subtract 3 and 5/9. We know before we add and subtract, we do need to have a common denominator, and in this case, we already do. We have a common denominator of 9. Like we did with addition, we need to start farthest to the right when we subtract, and we're going to start by subtracting those numerators. So 4 minus 5. This is a situation where we're going to have to do some borrowing. When we talk about borrowing, we want to think about what it is we're actually borrowing. We're going to borrow from this whole number of 7. We're going to change this to 6, and we're going to borrow 1 whole. When we're talking about wholes in this case in terms of ninths, 1 whole is going to be 9/9. So we're going to take that extra whole and add that onto our 4/9. So this new fraction becomes 6 13/9. And we're going to subtract 3 5/9. 7 4/9 and 6 13/9 are still the exact same number, but this now allows us to subtract those numerators. So 13 minus 5 is 8. We know our denominator does not change. And now we can subtract our whole numbers. So 6 minus 3, which is 3. Again, we need to go back and take a look at our original problem and think about, should my answer be positive or negative? In this case, I can see that the absolute value of my positive fraction is greater than the absolute value of my negative fraction. Therefore, my answer should be positive. So negative 3 5/9 plus 7 4/9 is equal to 3 8/9.